I'm Masha Marchev, and I'm joined today by Margot Labars, a partner in our Capital Markets and Accounting Advisory Services team. Thank you so much for joining us today, Margot.
Thank you, Masha.
Now, I understand you've done some research on how Australian corporates are faring in adopting the new accounting standards for revenue, financial instruments and leases. Could you tell us a little bit about that research?
Yes, of course. So, as you know, here in Australia, we're about to embark on probably the biggest change we've seen in financial reporting since we adopted IFRS in 2005. And of course, I'm talking about those three standards you mentioned on revenue, financial instruments and leasing. And so here at PwC, we've spent quite a bit of time in the last few years talking to our clients around what the impacts might be, working alongside them on transition projects. And so we've got some good insight into what the impacts will be for particular industries and for particular companies. But what we really wanted to do was put ourselves in the shoes of those investors or other stakeholders that might really only have the annual report to look at. So what we did was take a look at the annual reports for the ASX 100 and in particular those companies that had December year ends to see what sort of insight did they give around the status of transition projects and the potential financial impacts. And then the other thing we wanted to do was to see, well, what sort of progress had been made in the last 12 months. So that was by comparing really the disclosures we saw in 2016 to the disclosures in 2017.
So what were your key findings from the research?
So I think I'd probably summarise our key findings into really three key areas. And so the first of those, and this is good news, is I think we saw significant progress over the last 12 months. And so we're certainly seeing a lot more detailed disclosure around the impact of the new standards. And that's particularly the case for revenue and for financial instruments. And that's not surprising given that they're the two accounting standards that are going to apply for the first time this year. I think the second observation would be that companies have started to use the opportunity to actually quantify what the impact will be. And that's particularly the case where companies have said that it's likely to have a material impact. And I think the third area, this would be in relation to early adoption. So we've actually seen some companies early adopt the financial instruments. So this was in the December set of reports we looked at. But interestingly, no one decided to early adopt the revenue or the leasing standard. So I think overall we saw some really good examples of disclosure, and we've provided or shared some of those examples in the output of our research. But we also did see some companies where the disclosure perhaps wasn't quite as comprehensive. So I think we've probably still got some companies out there that still have some work to go.
Right. So what would you be expecting to see then for 30 June reporters?
I think if I take the output of our research from December and then I think about all of the conversations that we've had on transition in the last 6 months, I think we're going to see quite a bit of progress. So I think my expectation when I look at disclosures for June, I think we're going to see companies provide, first of all, a lot more detail about their transition projects and their key focus areas. I think secondly, we're going to see companies provide some more detailed or tailored disclosure around what the specific impacts will be for them, and in particular what some of the changes in accounting policy will be. And then thirdly, I think we're going to see some more quantification. So as those companies finalise their transition projects and their impact assessments and decide that they think there will be a material adjustment, I think we're going to see some quantification.
Right. Thank you so much, Margot. I think we'll be viewing the financial statements of June reporters with great interest.